Welcome, focused learners, to another deep dive in this explainer. Today, we're looking at a text that many consider the absolute ultimate psychological manual for the human condition, the Bhagavad Gita. Now, I know it's incredibly easy to look at a 5,000-year-old ancient epic and think, well, that's totally unapproachable, or assume it's completely disconnected from our fast-paced modern lives. But today, we're going to reframe that entirely. We are going to look at the Gita not just as historical scripture, but as a highly relevant, highly practical manual for decoding the very real struggles, anxieties, and dilemmas that you and I face every single day. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture Arjuna at the very beginning of the epic. He's this brilliant, physically strong, peak performance warrior, right? But he is completely paralyzed. And why? Because as he openly admits, he was Nara, literally a bundle of human weaknesses. He was experiencing the exact same vulnerabilities we all face. The fears, the self-doubt, those overwhelming worldly attachments, and just the sheer exhaustion of navigating what the texts call samsara, the cycle of worldly existence. Arjuna represents all of us. His paralysis on that battlefield, that's our exact paralysis when we're staring down modern daily anxieties. So that brings us to a really critical question, and it's the core focus of our explainer today. If the Bhagavad Gita actually contains the answers to these universal human problems, how do we practically extract them? Because let's be honest, for centuries, classical commentaries on the Gita have been incredibly dense. They're highly polemical, written mostly for advanced scholars. If you or I want to use this philosophy to solve our daily anxieties, we need a way in. We need a way to access this wisdom without getting completely bogged down in endless academic grammatical debates. Don't worry, we've got a clear roadmap to get us there safely. We're going to move from historical context right through the dense philosophy to some highly practical everyday applications. Here's the plan. 1. The divine text. 2. The scholar saint. 3. Pillars of dualism. 4. Fivefold differences. 5. The practical path. And 6. The living legacy.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the divine text. We're going to be looking through a very specific, powerful lens today.
The text we're using to completely bypass those dense academic debates is called the Gita Vivruti. Now, the word Vivruti literally means to unfold, to manifest, or simply to make clear. And that's exactly what it does. The author's explicit goal here was to create a concise, word-by-word exposition known as aksara artha that just lets the foundational beauty of the Gita shine through. Think of it as our divine decoder ring. It's designed specifically to simplify the complex so the true meaning becomes immediately apparent for us.
Moving right along to Section 2, the scholar saint. Let's talk about the immense historical and spiritual authority behind this decoder text. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the man behind the text, Sri Raghavendra Teertha, affectionately known as Rayaru. He was a 17th century ascetic and an absolute intellectual giant. Before taking his vows under the renowned lineage of Sri Suhindra Teertha, his early life as a scholar named Venkananatha was marked by extreme poverty and intense struggle. And that's absolutely crucial because it gave him a profound, empathetic understanding of human suffering. While he's widely revered today for his miracles, or mahimas, it's so important to remember he was first and foremost a brilliant scholar who authored over 40 major Sanskrit works. He really understood what we go through.
That brings us to Section 3, Pillars of Dualism. To understand this framework, we need some pristine visual clarity.
In Dvaita Vedanta, or dualism, there is a hard, eternal line drawn between two distinct realities. You can see this clear visual separation. On one side, you have the Lord, Paramatma. Through Krishna's cosmic form, the Vishwarupam, the Vivruti proves the divine is absolutely independent, the ultimate reality known as Svatantra, completely flawless and supreme. Then, on the other side, you have the individual soul, the Jiva. The soul is completely dependent. Yes, it's eternal, and yes, it acts as a reflection of the Lord, but it is fundamentally distinct. Proving this supreme sovereignty of the divine gives us a massive, much-needed anchor in a totally chaotic universe. Let's look deeper into how he categorizes the universe in Section 4, the fivefold differences. Rayaru explains that a lot of our spiritual confusion happens when we blur the lines between things that are just fundamentally different. He completely eliminates this confusion by breaking the universe down into 5 absolute distinctions, the Panchabheda. We have the difference between the Lord and individual souls, the Lord and inert objects, souls and inert objects, one soul and another soul, and finally between different inert objects themselves. Once you grasp this foundational principle of absolute distinction, it just clears the fog. Everything has its distinct place. And building directly on that idea of distinct souls, we arrive at this truly beautiful concept, taratamya. Because every soul is fundamentally different, it means every single soul has a unique spiritual capacity, its yogyata, and exerts a different level of effort, or sadhana. This is so incredibly freeing. It means our spiritual journeys are not some rigid, one-size-fits-all race. Our paths to devotion are highly, perfectly personalized to us. Now for the real-world application. Section 5, the practical path.
Rayaru doesn't view the major teachings of the Gita as completely separate, isolated choices. Instead, he harmonizes them into a unified, interconnected progression. It's literally a ladder. It starts with nishkama karma, which is performing our selfless daily duties. When you do that action correctly, it naturally fosters jnana, a deep knowledge of the Lord's supremacy. And then, that knowledge gracefully matures into the final step, pure, unadulterated bhakti, culminating in saranagati, absolute devotion and surrender. They just feed right into one another.
So what does it mean to take that first step on the ladder of nishkama karma? It means treating every single daily, mundane task as a literal puja, an offering. Whether you're writing a stressful email, washing the dishes, or managing a massive team at work. When your goal is simply to serve the divine, the antaryami residing within you without clinging to the outcome, you achieve this profound equanimity. You can accept a massive success or a crushing failure with a completely calm, balanced mind. It's the ultimate practical antidote to our modern anxiety. Finally, let's tie this 17th century wisdom right back to your life today in Section 6, the living legacy.
Before Sri Raghavendra Swami entered his Brindavan in Mantralayam, he delivered this incredibly powerful final message. Right living is itself right worship. You don't have to flee your responsibilities or run off to a cave somewhere to find spiritual fulfillment. By reading the Gita through the clear lens of Rayaru's Vivruti, the core takeaway is obvious. Engaging in our worldly duties with the right mindset, seeing them as offerings, is absolutely the most accessible way to find clarity, peace, and divine grace right in the middle of our chaotic modern samsara.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a lingering thought. This ancient wisdom isn't meant to just stay trapped on a page, it's meant to be lived. How will you take this concept of nishkama karma and apply it today? How will you transform your very next daily task, whatever it happens to be, into an intentional offering to the Lord within? Think about that as you go about your day. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the Gita Vivruti, and keep learning.